Okay, that's my first take on D'Angelo Russell after the Summer League. And my take on the comments that he may be a bust. My comments on he is not worthy the second overall pick and things like that. What's my first impression? My first impression was that I wouldn't say he was anxious, but he definitely had some butterflies in him, which isn't that bad. There are a lot of guys who, maybe a little bit too excited playing in the Summer League, but he obviously was a second overall pick, and people automatically putting some huge expectations on that. And I think with him being a little bit out of rhythm, I think he had no game since late May or April, and then coming back after the draft, putting some full Summer League practices on and a lot of games in few days. That can be very tough for a 19-year-old, especially for a 19-year-old guard who is supposed to play the toughest position in basketball, amongst really a man's league. But obviously, there were some turnover problems. His shots were not falling, but I'm still so relaxed, so patient with him. I think he's going to be a great player. I think he's got so much upside, so much room for improvement. He's going to be a tenacious player. You see some glimpse of some glimpse of Curry in his passing. I would say he's a mix of Curry and a little bit of Steve Nash. The first comments from the coaching staff and players during summer league practices were that he really sees plays and passes 3-4 moves ahead, and he hits teammates when they're not even think about that pass, and that's an ability that is worth a lot in the NBA. And he proved at college that he can shoot the ball. Obviously, there's a lot of it. I would say a lot of bit of pressure and different range in the NBA. The floor is a little bit bigger, but I saw in the last game they had against Utah that he can do it. I think he scored 21 points in that game, obviously on 20 shots, but he made half of them at least. And I think if he starts to practices with guys like Kobe and Byron Scott day in and day out, that he will find a certain way of rhythm and a certain way of confidence that he really can play the way the Lakers needed him to play. And getting from Kobe that kind of look of the bigger picture, just to, in terms of taking his time, just not rushing things. You don't have to be a star right away. I think people sometimes being too hard or too fast, putting the bust bottom on a player, because that dude is 19 years old only and supposed to play the toughest position in basketball, alongside a player who is arguably one of the greatest to ever play the game. So that alone puts a lot of pressure on him, I think. Every guard that comes out of college, being 19 years old, 20 years old, you can ask all of them. All of them were sometimes being that little kid who watches Kobe doing his thing, and now they are supposed to, bring some contribution alongside those guys. And I think if he can shrug off a little bit of that pressure, I think he will do very great, especially alongside Clarkson, which can teach also a lot of things in terms of being patient, seeing the NBA season as a long season, not something which is over in a few weeks. NBA season takes a lot of time for a lot of time for being patient with yourself, with your game, and I think Russell will learn that very fast. And when he gets that kind of safety on himself, I think he will do great. And the comments that he may be a bust or he was the wrong pick for the Lakers, I don't buy that at all, because the Lakers, obviously they let Okafor slip, but I think Okafor, as good as he is offensively, there were too many question marks. Obviously he's got a big body. He can make people think twice about driving to the basket, but the weaknesses he had overall in terms of man-to-man D, free throw shooting, at the end of the day, those were the things that were, I think, too dangerous for LA to rely on. I think Russell was the only right decision for the Lakers. They really needed a guard besides Kobe who can create something even for himself or for his teammates. We look at guys like Westbrook or Lillard, Tony Parker, Chris Paul. The list goes on and on and on. And John Wall, obviously. There were so many guys who decided games by themselves, taking the opposite guard of the Lakers to the rim every single time. I remember Curry, when he played against the Lakers, there were not only the shots from outside, but he took the ball to the rim so many times. And with Russell, the Lakers finally have somebody, who still have a lot to learn on the defensive end in the NBA, but he is capable of getting some grip on those guys defensively. When you see what the Lakers put up on that position the last years, they were, that was horrible sometimes. Defensively, there were a lot of points they couldn't avoid, a lot of points which decided games lately. And now they are in a position to improve a young kid that can take care of both sides of the floor. He obviously has his qualities on the offensive end. A lot of mock drafts, a lot of scouts saw him playing at least a solid defensive level on college, and I think if he plays some NBA games, he will learn very fast what it takes to be at least a solid defender in the NBA, and I think he has all the tools in his body to put that in his game also, and being a great upgrade in that area for the Lakers. And besides Russell, I was a little bit hyped up for seeing Julius Randle back on the court. Every time he touches the ball, he showed a lot of confidence in his shot, which makes me very, very excited for the upcoming season. I know he worked a lot on his jump shot. As he, the moment after he gets green light for basketball activities after his surgery, he was in the gym every day working on his jump shot. He lost about 16 pounds, I think, or was it? I think it was 8 pounds. Hibbert lost 16. He looked very, very, very aggressive. He was in tip-top shape. Every time he blow a defender with his first step, there was nobody in that summer league this year which could stop him from getting to the basket. Obviously, not every single shot went down, but I think that was just the rust he had on. I think he will do great. I think he will do very well this upcoming season. He is very fueled still by that injury he suffered against Houston. I think he will play with a lot of rage, with a lot of sense for making a name for himself in that league finally. And I think him being able to run the floor with Russell and Clarkson, that gives the Lakers a whole new face offensively. It's not only Kobe anymore. It's not only Kobe who can create. Randall is able to create. Russell is able to create. Even Clarkson. It's not the upcoming season or the next 2-3 years the Lakers will play playoff basketball again. But I think if the fans are willing to be patient, willing to wait a few years, I think the Lakers will be able to form a very successful team, and maybe it's next summer. Obviously, the cap gets a little bit free. Kobe is on his last contract here. Maybe he will come back. I think time will tell. But there are chances again to land a superstar. Obviously, it didn't go down this year. Aldridge decided to play for the Spurs. Jordan stayed for at the Clippers, but yeah, I think it was a long shot anyway. I mean, those two guys were. Yeah, they were long shots. I mean, Aldridge, he had 2 meetings with us, but I think at the end of the day, it was the only right decision for him to pick San Antonio over everybody. And we will see what's down for us next year. I think time will tell. I think with that core the Lakers have now, it's more attractive to free agents to think about coming to the Lakers. And I think it's not that much about Kobe blowing stars away from the Lakers. I mean, if you look at some interviews players gave the last month, everybody said that they would actually love to play with Kobe. But I think the fact that the Lakers weren't that competitive the last years, or even couldn't build a team that is competitive enough to fight at the playoffs or fight for title contention, that was the real reason why nobody wanted to sign in LA, because I think they were a little bit anxious to not open up that domino effect that other stars or good role players think that, Aldridge signed with the Lakers, I gotta go there too. When you look at, let's take Aldridge as an example. I mean, even if he stayed in Portland, this situation is even better than that what the Lakers have right now. And I think that the Lakers were just, it's not that timing now. The Lakers would have been a very high risk for him. I think he really wants titles now, and even if he signed alongside guys like Jordan, let's say they get both, start Kobe, Aldridge, Jordan, let's take Russell and Clarkson in that starting 5, maybe you can put off enough to reach spot 8, 7, maybe 6, but there's no way to get in the top 5 in the Western Conference with that starting 5. And then, even then, you didn't know what kind of bench you have. So it takes a little time now. Fans have to be patient, and I think if everybody commits to that process, and it is a process that takes a little bit time now, then we get time to see and witnessing a core that will be competitive enough to play for more than good draft picks again. So yeah, be patient, be humble, and then we will see what we get the next years.